I want to talk about two generations. We have the millennials and now we have the Generation Z. We are called the Generation Me because everything, they say it is about us. But in so doing, I will give you the current context here in South Africa, where we find ourselves in as young people, but also as a young person who is leading a business, the Mindworx Academy. I want to share with you some practical case studies of what we've done to make sure that we advance the rights of our young people responsibly so. And hopefully we can just have some discussion around that. Just to give you the context of what has happened. We are a generation of, when you look at the South African population, it is made up of about 64% is young people. Out of that 64%, on average, 52% of them are not working. But if you look closely and you dissect that figure, that number, you must see who is that 52%. It is young people who are black, it is people who come from poor communities, it is people that we call have been excluded from entering the mainstream economy, which is a challenge. It is young people who come from areas like Limpopo. I always say when I look at the demographics of our beneficiaries, we are based in Johannesburg, but these are the people who come from here. Limpopo is one of the provinces that is so high in terms of benefiting from our program. KZN, we see that a lot. We've seen graduates. I'm sure all of us we've seen young graduates standing by the roadside saying, I'm looking for employment. And we've seen companies saying, we don't have the skill, we're looking for these young people. Where are they? But we see that young people are standing. So we are growing up in an environment of joblessness, where a lot of the young people are not working. But also, when you look at what's happening globally, this economic recession, we find ourselves in this recession. We're talking to companies now. Most of them are downsizing, they're scaling down, they're not employing, they're maintaining headcount. Then the challenge, therefore, the question, therefore, is how are you going to address this issue of young people who are coming who are coming out of the university system and they are looking for employment? It is a disrupted world, not just technologically, but also in terms of the socio-economic issues that we face. You spoke about the fees must fall generation, and I want to link that with the emergence. From a political point of view, the status quo has been disrupted. The most watched television station with the most viewership, I think the past maybe the past 2 years, it is the parliamentary channel, where we've seen the emergence of a political party like the EFF. And I will tell you why it is so important to note that. Currently today, when you look at who runs the universities from a student politics point of view, it is the EFF. I think this year now they are running about 20 out of the 26 universities. So it tells you something about young people. They are looking for something totally different. When you look at the policies that we've designed, or the laws that we have currently today in South Africa, they were designed or they were introduced just after apartheid, so that the level field could be, the field could be leveled, standardized in terms of the rights and the responsibilities. But now you have young people who are very radical. Young people who come to the workplace and they don't understand why they must come to work, say at 8 and leave at 5. So as HR professional, I think it's very important to note that. But also, when you look at what has happened now, social media has emerged. The other day, I saw my sister posting on WhatsApp status saying my Instagram is not working, and I feel like falling apart. And research is showing that Instagram is the most used social media platform. Now you have young people. I lead a team of about 15 young people. All of them are centennials. Are millennials. I think we have about 2 centennials. Those who were born after 1997, and I see them on Instagram. And if I'm a manager who does not understand that things have changed, then I get angry. Then I look at them and say, you are not working. You spend time on your social media. Yet for them, that's where they are building what is called social capital. For them, it's a way of working. So, also in our case, for example, we look at how we've used social media. In this case, I'll extend to platforms like WhatsApp, where now in our organization, we don't have to fill out leave forms. If somebody decides no, they don't want to come, they can inform me and send me a text or send me a message via Facebook Messenger, and that is acceptable. But when you look at the legislation, it is structured in a way that does not necessarily allow that. There's formal communication. I would argue that some organizations are very progressive in terms of accepting that, in terms of accommodating young people, but others, they are very rigid, they're still old. You have to complete this form. There's no way that you can just let me now, inform me now that you are taking leave. This thing has to be planned way ahead. Things have changed. That's not what we want as young people. We want to be as flexible as possible. We want to have that relationship of trust and openness with our line managers. The racial tensions, we might take it lightly, but this is one of the things that we find ourselves in South Africa. Technology, I think the past 2 days, we've been fed the topic about the fourth industrial revolution, artificial intelligence. Now you're starting to see that we are coming into a different environment. On Saturday, I was speaking at the city of Joburg with young people, with the mayor, and it was interesting to see young people having a keen interest on this topic of AI and automation, where they're saying, our parents actually don't have the skills. We are scared, we don't know what's going to happen. You see, it's not just about them, but also it's about their parents who are working in mines, who are working in government, and we are automating. They want to understand what's going to happen. And then this concept of media. In actual fact, there's one of the skills that is most sought after is called new media literacy. Back then, I think in 2007, for example, when I was still at university, you'd apply for jobs that you'll see from a newspaper. Nowadays, things have changed. Media has there's media liberation. We cannot just rely from one source of news. You spoke about yesterday to say all of us can be journalists today because we take all these pictures. The narrative has changed. Back then it was who tells the story better. And we know now that all of us can tell the story. So things have changed. We are leveraging on that. We know what's happening, be it issues of transformation. You're speaking about, cadets not being in senior management position. But through social media, through what's happening, corruption in this country, we suddenly know what's happening in that space, and we have a keen interest in terms of what is it that needs to be done. So having said that, having given you that context, let me just share with you what is it that I've done personally as a leader of Mindworx Academy in terms of making sure that I promote rights for young people, but also create an environment that is that of learning and that of inclusiveness. So when I joined Mindworx, the academy itself started, I think, about 4 years ago. I joined into the second year. The one thing that I wanted to know was, how are we doing in terms of the stats? I was particularly interested in those who dropped out, because I wanted to understand, why do young people come into these programs and they drop out? So one of the things that we picked up was that there was a girl who had dropped out. She was from KZN, and she was pregnant, and she was kicked out of the program. And I asked, who's the boyfriend? And they said the boyfriend is still here. He's working at a particular company. That boy was never fired from the program. And I sat down, I said, that is totally wrong. Going forward, we had to do things differently. What we did was to say, if you are pregnant and you are part of the program, and we know and we see that you are performing, we will support you. With internships, we always say young people cannot be pregnant during the tenure of the internship. We have changed that. What we have done at Mindworx, we've taken a deliberate position that we will support young people. And immediately after I pronounced that, one lady got pregnant again. And we loved her. She was great. What we did was to support her. When she took maternity leave, we paid her a full salary. And this is something that we're doing and we will continue doing. As I speak today, she works for one of the big banks because even that we engaged the banks, and the bank said, you know what, if this is your stand, we appreciate it. How many young girls have been excluded because of this policy that we have, which for me, it is just to guide us. And I think as HR professionals, we need to rethink that. We need to say, it takes two to make a child. And having a child actually nowadays does not necessarily mean you're incapable. It's a technological world. This lady that I'm talking about, she was still able to work from home, because what we do at Mindworx, most of us work from home. We collaborate through social media tools, technology tools such as Slack, WhatsApp. So she was still delivering. So the question for me was, she's still contributing to performance. Why then must we then send her home to go and sit there and reverse her situation? So for us, it was about restoring dignity for young girls or female employees, and to be fair, because nowadays things have changed. You can still work, you can still perform, achieve results, sitting at home without having to come to their office. But the element of compassion, I think for me, it is very important to say, this person already comes here, they are excluded, now we want to exclude them. Let's understand where they come from. It is not because of their own doing by themselves alone, but it's a lot of us. So we've done that, we've changed that. It has its own challenges, I must say, but it is a stand that we've taken to do. The other issue that I've done, is disparity in terms of pay. And I look at the young people who are coming in. I have one person who's over the age of 35. All of us are below the age of 35 in my company. But I wondered why are we on different scales? And then I went to our finance department, and I said, give me the payroll. I want to see how these people are being paid. I was shocked to see the differences in terms of pay, and I made a decision there and then, and I said, this person and that person, they are doing the same job, they are giving us the same results, therefore they should be on the same, regardless whether you're a man or a woman. We changed that. I remember getting a call from the founder of Myeni saying, what have you just done? And I said, I did the right thing. Maybe I might have done it in the wrong way, but I've done the right thing. So we've done that. All our young people, because all our young people are compensated fairly. For me, it's about fairness. It's about giving them that opportunity to be able to enjoy, what you call financial freedom. It mustn't just be a thing of men. Where there's this assumption that as a man you are able, or you will be able to be compensated better than a woman because you are smarter. For me, I just totally disagree with that. So we have changed that. So these things that I'm talking about, these are things that are real, are things that we have done. This concept of working from home, when we started with it, I was coming from an environment of flexibility anyway. This is a picture, and this is one picture that was sent by one of the young people and this is an actual picture actually, where she was sitting at home saying, I'm working from home. Why do I need to come to the office? And for us, it is so important. Why do I need to come to the office? My job does not require me to be there. I can talk to you, Sabelo, via Slack, via WhatsApp. We use a lot of those tools. So why must I come? So I think as HR professionals, it's very important to look at the age to 5 a structure, for example, to say, is it working? And I can tell you now, it is not going to work for young people. And if you want to push that down their throat, then they will leave your organization, and then you'll think a bad manager. But because you've taken this policy and then that you've enforced that down, for us it's about that. But also, working from home today, you see that guy saying, answering email with no pens and so in a very tough economic, very tough economic environment, what we've done, because we have I don't know, the price of petrol has gone up crazily. So what we have done, we're deliberate to say, I said, I don't want to see you here every day. If it means you have to create a schedule of who is not coming in today, and who is coming in tomorrow, let's do that. And they went ahead and have done that. They are managing that themselves. So for me, it's about happiness. It's about having engaged employees. They don't have to come every day. It's expensive to them. They're saving me costs because just by coming there, they are chowing my data, they are chowing, yeah, the Wi-Fi, but also they're just sitting there, sometimes doing nothing. And at the end of the day, when you have happy, engaged people, you'll start to see the results. I see the results. I've been here for the past 3 days. I don't know when was the last time I went to the office, but I'm seeing results. I'm seeing people posting stuff here, and I know that not all of them are in the office, but it is happening. And I think we have to think about that culture of flexibility, to say, how do we create an environment? It is our responsibility, an environment where young people can come and express themselves. You look at the basic conditions of Employment Act, look at them in context. You can't just take that act as it is, that act as it is, and pretend it's 1995. It's not 1995. It's 2018. You have to be cognizant of that. But also, it's the gig economy, and what we have done. Again, my young people are very entrepreneurial. What they've done, so they will look at the business and analyze it and say, you know what, this is what we want to do. One of them is a facilitator. She came to me and said, Sabelo, you are hiring expert or expensive facilitators to come and teach, but I can do the very same thing that they're doing. Why don't you just give me this job? I know that I'm employed here. So now as an HR professional, you have to think about, okay, I have a contract with this person, that she'll be working for us every day, but also now she wants to be a supplier to us. Then you have to think about how are you going to do that in a manner that's within the limits of the law, but also you are promoting skills, you are promoting talent, also you are saving money for yourself. So we've done that. Most of my team, they are suppliers to the business because we don't want to go out and get someone who is expensive when we have the talent here. But also, I've allowed them to go out and do other things as long as it does not impact their work. At the end of the day, you don't want people who will be demotivated. I think what I like about this is that they don't come to me and say, I need a salary increase. Because I'll say to them, but you know what, I've already given you a business. So you have to have a different contract with them. And you have to have different terms and conditions for that contract. Where they go and do some work outside, they come and share that with us. A lot of organizations, they say declare. And then when you declare, then they want to penalize you. Then they'll start looking at you, oh, is he here every day? They don't look at the results, which is so important in my view. So it's about skills, it's about money, it's about performance. Now, when you look at the way we work, it has changed again. Back then it was this model, you go to school, and then you come to work and you retire. Things have changed. I've got young people that work for me who are still at university. They want to explore different things. So the question therefore is, when you look at these important labor laws, what is it that you're going to adapt? What is it that you're going to take into context when we have young people who want to do all of these things? Someone yesterday was talking about, young people who are traveling, seeing the world. But them seeing the world does not necessarily mean they can't come back and work for you. They can still come back and work for you wherever they're sitting. So we're starting to see that, there's this thing of called slash employment. A lot of young people coming to, wanting to do different things because they're democratizing their skills and time. Acqui-hiring, this is the concept that I like, where you look at a small business and say, I want to do what they're doing, but how can I bring them, acquire that skill so that they can come in and do that? We are doing it with our young people. So we are creating two streams of young people in terms of skills and talent. We have the young people who go and work. They go and work for Mondelez, just as an example. They are happy to do that. But also we're creating a stream of gig entrepreneurs, young people who want to go and work for themselves. But without necessarily registering a formal company. They just want to get together, go and work for that particular company, leave that project and move to the next project. So I think for me, the question is where to from here. this concept of creating a strong employer brand, it is very important. If I may ask you, who's young? If I may ask you, which company do you think has the strongest employer brand in South Africa today?
I would say
Unilever? You don't have any? Okay, so why Unilever, if I may ask?
when you look at when you go to their website, there are a lot of changes that they've made. I remember they spoke about the issue of illegalization and all this stuff. When you go to Unilever recruitment website and get the job opportunities, you download the check the information that you have. Immediately it tells you when you move to the next stage. So that you don't crack your head and waiting for result. It tells you when you are unsuccessful immediately. In 5 minutes, it sends back the email, so you do not qualify. However, keep on checking. So when you move, because they do immediately they do the culture survey. There are questionnaires that goes to culture survey. There are questionnaires that talks to psychometrics, whereby they test all the level of thinking, whether you will fit to our organization, besides the qualification. Then after immediately, once you fill all those questions, and then you go to qualification, it tells you whether you fit or not. Then if it moves to the next stage, then it pops in on your cell phone. Then your application is on stage so and so, stage so and so. Even when you come into their interview, I'm saying this because of experience. When you come into their interview, the interviews they are relevant to the current stage. They don't ask you in terms of section so and so interview. They ask you in terms of statistical thinking and how will you develop yourself. So the other organizations, you know, whereby they ask you in terms of basic, in terms of occupational health and safety. Those are the things that are irrelevant in 2018, but because the parliament it takes so much time to review the laws and signing it delays the process. But then we know that Unilever is a world-class employer and it's easy. I mean, they are adopting what's called the international standard organization. One is done in Australia, it's done in Egypt, it's done in South Africa, in Brazil, etc. They are not operating the standard of the country. They are operating the world.
Fantastic. And you know what we see on the outside? It's actually a reflection of what's happening within organizations. Unilever is such an interesting organization to mention because they've also introduced AI recruitment. And as HR professionals, we have to start looking and thinking about that. It was interesting when we were trying to recruit one of the learners for a big organization. That learner, he went and looked at the website and studied the organization and came back to us and said, you know what, I do not want to go there. I would rather sit at home because I know that this organization has been taken to CCMA by young people over and over again. And when we gave that feedback to the organization, they were surprised. It goes back to the point about media literacy. We read. So we have a particular organization that we want to work for. A lot of young people, when you ask them, will tell you about the Googles of this work, the Facebook, because these are organizations that are seen to be innovative. But in actual fact, something just got into my mind. But in actual fact, it is because these organizations, they've created a culture where young people can come in and succeed. So we need to review our legislation and think about it. If you can't change it, at least if you cannot review the legislation, because it's a long process. This for me is just a guide. You have to think about how can we then accommodate young people coming into the workplace with different expectations, the way they view work in the workplace is totally different. You have to rethink the legislation again in the context of men and machine working together now in the work environment, where a lot of stuff would be automated. Someone said yesterday that he thinks that his job will still be available in the next 10 years, and that person is a talent. And yes, it will be, but it will be totally different. not in the manner that not in the manner that you are doing it currently. But it will be about analyzing, it will be about thinking, because we are looking for people who think, create, and explore. So I think as HR professionals, we have to think about, think about AI and automation to say, they're dealing with repetitive, mundane tasks. They are suddenly freeing us to do a lot of work, a lot of thinking. So this question about 9 to 5 or 8 hours has to be debated. I think that's something that you have to go back and think about. As you bring in young people, think about how are you going to engage them, because they see work totally differently. And again, how do we build value that is supported by legislation for both employees and employers? Because at the end of the day, it is about us succeeding. Lastly, there's this saying, I'm sure you know it, employees don't leave bad jobs, but they leave bad bosses. But the good news is, us, we're a bossless generation. We don't need a boss. That statement, I will change it to employees don't leave bad jobs, they leave bad organizations. And I think when we say bad organizations, organizations that are failing consistently to create a culture of learning, a culture of flexibility, where they just take acts and policies and implement them as they are. That is something that we have to think about. This is a question of intention. Leadership is about intention. What is it that you want to achieve at the end of the day? If the intention is misplaced, then you won't be able to build an organization that will be successful in a bossless generation. It's about influence and impact. And these things are very important to think about. I think, thank you very much. I've been told that I was left with 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. I think he deserves a proper round of applause. I think for me, yes, I heard that this is a Zulu club and I'm Zulu, but I've never heard it before.
Yeah, we're learning every day.
Maybe it's a Johannesburg Zulu's club, because in KZN we don't do that club.
Because you're still backward.
I think this for me was a really interesting perspective from a young person, who's saying this is what we want. And I'm so happy that the IPM put you on the program, Sabelo, because I think sometimes we want to talk about women, but we don't bring women to the conversation. We want to talk about disabled people, but we don't bring them to the conversation. And then we think we are all experts on what young people need, but we don't bring them to the conversation. So we've just heard from Sabelo, and I was getting goosebumps because I see this every day in my own work, that the world of work has changed so much that people that are not able to adapt and to listen and to engage and to say, how do we make this environment an environment that you want to be part of? They are really struggling to maintain and keep their talent. So thank you very much. I think that was awesome. We still have 3 minutes. I called you on 5 minutes before your time was up, just so that I give people an opportunity to ask questions, because I think that was quite an interesting talk. Yes, sir.
What we need to think about, also the process to how we use the disadvantage group. One should also recognize that the 64% I can guess and say, on under my opinion, 50% already gave up to the corporate one, already gave up to the government, already gave up to everything inside. Hence, we are having this kind of youth who are exposed to drugs, etc., wrong things and crime, etc. And then maybe you can guide us in terms of to share another story before there was one of the government organizations where we had a transformation agenda. It took the whole week, and and there were speakers coming in and out. And one of the speakers was departing the needs of youth as myself, already departed. Hence, you're calling me I'm not on my youth, as from this year. So, he said, if there is anyone who is at the SMS level dealing with it, raise your hand. No one raises it. And I think in that organization, even today, they never focus on that aspect. Because there's still that belief that, I mean, if you are not at the age, certain age, you do not qualify to handle the issues of the SMS level. But at some other organization, you will realize that when you have to start the strategy or the policy, it starts from at the ground level, starting. If we start the strategy, we need to submit the strategy. We started and then we want to find out, then the SMS member will come and make some amendment. Of which, you know, when you do quality assurance, it's easy because the person already thought about it. They break down and then research it, etc., etc. Then they bring it all into the information, but they only ask it to finalize. So, with all those things which are pending to the youth, of which I think I'm still falling to them.
You do. In Africa, 45-year-old means.
It makes you give up from government. You said 20% have voted. Those, I mean, people who are putting their agendas on people, whom they're the majority. We should not shy away that the youth are the majority, and according to the constitution of the country, it's the majority that rules the country. So we must be aware. So in that essence, can you please assist us in terms of how can we try by all means to bulldoze to our SMS members, to our executive, to ensure that they understand the danger that we are facing against our youth that are out there. Because we're already experiencing this crime thing of our cars. We go and buy your car, they come and hijack our sisters. You go and buy them whatsoever, they break your house. It's a problem. It's a sign. It's a sign that tells us there's something wrong. There's something which is not happening according. So can you please tell us how do we go to the corporate world and tell the executive this is how we need to work in these people before they lose hope on us?
Thank you very much. I think my simple answer to that, and it's something that I've been talking about quite a lot as well, where you look at organizations in the technology space, you look at digital nomadics, people who are, who are very, very old in their driving that agenda. We need to start bringing in young people in these structures that you're talking about, be it as a youth advisory channel, or be it, as mentors and mentees. I have about 5 mentors, for example, and all of these are young people who are still at university, who are coming and sharing some insights with me in terms of where is the world going. But again, it's about the intention, it's about the deliberate effort from senior managers. I think as HR professionals, we have to ask each and every senior manager, do you have a young person that you are working with? Because young people, when they are put in positions of influence, then they'll be able to bring up the other young people who are sitting at home because they know their challenges. So for me, I think we have to look at that. It's a question of doing it. We've been complaining about this thing, it's not happening. And it's not happening because we do not want to implement it. I think we need to start implementing it. As HR professionals who are responsible for talent and bringing in talent and skills, I think it's your duty as well to make sure that happens. Even if these young people are coming just to support and advise you in terms of where the world is going, I think we have to do that. I was saying to you, Sister Sabelo, the other thing, or unfortunate things that technology can exclude are the young people. So we have to think about these young people and say, how do we get to them? How do we reach out to them in such a way that they are able to understand where the world is going, but also bring them up to these opportunities that are available.
Thank you. I'll only take 2 questions. We have run out of time, so I'm only going to take 2 questions from people that have not asked questions before, and I just ask you to keep it very short, straight to the point. I'll start with the gentleman and then you, sis.
Maybe the lady first.
Fine. Your hand was up first, but she can go. We'll repeat the question.
Yeah.
Can you just replay the question for the people?
So the question is, with the Face Must Fall project is being misused, where you find affording young people benefiting from the scheme, yet they shouldn't be benefiting from that scheme. I think for me, it is a question of vetting, because when we've set that criteria, for example, and to say who qualifies, but I don't think we've done very well in terms of looking at assessing that properly to say who really qualifies according to the criteria. Now I see that, for example, government will be working with SARS, will be working with us to determine if your parent, for example, is working for a particular company, they will know that you're at this range in terms of your salary. Therefore, you won't qualify. But for me, I think education should be free to all. Whether your mom is working or they can afford, it should be free to everybody. Because we're perpetuating the cycle again, where we're excluding a particular grouping for a grouping that maybe now it deserves to be part of that system. But I think generally we have to open this thing to every young person, regardless of color, gender, where they come. It's not their money. It's the money from their parents.
You spoke about the issue of salaries, being young ones. You're on the same level as those who have been working in the company. So some of us, we know that salaries is a big motivation, but some of us are too cautious. Don't you think that will compromise on the issue of the issue of retainment or retaining those retention, the issue of retention, because I've been working for a company for 5 years, and these youngsters out of just from the university with the qualification, and they actually don't know what to do. I'm the one who's going to teach them that work. You understand? I'm transferring that skill or the experience that I have. However you want to pay me the same as that youngsters. I think that will compromise the issue of retention somehow. Maybe we should be cautious on that.
Do you have a problem giving a young person a high salary? I'm asking you.
I don't have a problem.
Okay, you don't have a problem. So the issue was about equal pay for equal work. You are bringing in a young person who does not have work experience. Your responsibility as a line manager is to coach and mentor that person, and you do that. Therefore, the pay that cannot be the same. But the day they start doing the same work, delivering the same results, I think for me, you have to then, it might not be necessarily the same, but it has to be decent. I've seen companies paying graduates 5,000, and then you look at what is it that they bring into the organization. Very, very valuable, but you pay them 5,000 because we are saying they are young, but they are contributing to performance. We have to rethink that. We have to relook at that. I know in government at these levels, I don't know what levels are they. Yes. So in our case, we looked at that. It doesn't work. It doesn't make sense to take a young person and you give them a salary for 5,000 per month, and then after that, you then let them go because their 12 months tenure is up. I think it's something that is inhumane. It has to be related. But again, context is very important in doing these things. You cannot just go and, I've been fired for this, by the way, and rehired the same day once I defended it, and I said, it cannot be. If I want to have motivated people, then I will do the right thing to show that I care about